I swear I only meant to hand her the wrench, but the way she looked at me made it feel like I was holding something far more dangerous. It started last Thursday. The rain had just turned the sidewalk into a film set, glistening pavement, gray skies, and that low hum of water slipping down drain pipes. I was heading back to my apartment after work, hoodie soaked, hands numb, when I saw her again, standing on her porch, barefoot, frustrated, trying to unjam her front door with a screwdriver. I'd seen her around before. Apartment 3B. She always kept to herself, well-dressed, always a little distant, always alone. She looked like someone who had built walls for a reason. She gave up on the lock and leaned her forehead against the door, exhaling sharp and low. That kind of tired that comes from something deeper than just a long day. "Need help?" I called out, halfway expecting her to ignore me. She turned. Her eyes flicked to mine, slow like she didn't want to look surprised. "You good with locks?" she asked, skeptical but amused. "I break into my own place weekly." I shrugged. A smile tugged at her mouth. It wasn't warm, more like reflex. She stepped back, letting me try. I got the door open in under a minute. She said nothing at first, just stared at the lock like it had personally betrayed her. Then, "Do you want to come in for a second? You're soaked." I hesitated. Just enough for her to notice. Just enough to make her raise one eyebrow, like she was already regretting offering. Inside, the place was clean, minimalist, but lived in. Candles burned low on the shelf. A kettle clicked off somewhere in the kitchen. A jazz record was playing, the kind of music people used to avoid silence. She tossed me a towel. "I'm Leah. Daniel." She nodded once and turned away. "I was fixing a cabinet hinge when the key jammed," she said. "It's just been one of those days." "You need help with that too?" I asked. She didn't answer, just handed me the toolbox and walked into the kitchen. I followed. The cabinet was below the sink. I crouched down and started working, feeling her presence behind me like a shift in temperature. "Why are you always alone?" I asked, not looking up. She paused, then leaned against the counter. "You're young," she said. "You ask questions like that." I tightened the last screw and stood. We were too close. I don't think either of us stepped back. She didn't meet my eyes. Her voice dropped. "You don't really know me." "I want to." She exhaled. Her eyes flicked to my mouth, then back to the floor. Her hand brushed mine. Just for a second. That second was loud. The kettle clicked again behind us. She stepped back. And then softly, the kind of soft that carries weight, she said, "If you touch me now, everything changes." She didn't move after she said it, just stood there, backlit by that soft kitchen light, one hand still on the edge of the counter like she needed it for balance. "If you touch me now, everything changes." I didn't even know what everything meant. But I knew her voice shook when she said it, just slightly, like part of her wanted it to happen, and the rest of her was terrified it might. I took a step back. Not because I wanted distance, but because I was starting to feel something in my chest that scared me more than her words. She turned away, started wiping the already clean counter. Her movements were a little too fast, a little too focused. "Sorry," she muttered. "That came out weird." "No," I said. "It didn't." She froze for half a second, then went back to cleaning. The cloth trembled slightly in her hand. There was something about her, not just how she looked, which, yeah, she was beautiful in that quiet, lived-in way. But it was more than that. It was the way she carried herself, like she was used to holding things together. Like no one else would do it for her. And now, up close, I saw things I hadn't noticed before. The small crack near her thumbnail, like she'd been biting it. The way her shoulders were tense, even when she was trying to seem relaxed. The faint scent of something warm, maybe vanilla, maybe old perfume she didn't realize still clung to her. I should have left. I knew that. There was no rule saying I couldn't be here, but the space between us felt loaded, like if I stayed too long, I'd start wanting things I wasn't supposed to. She leaned against the fridge and crossed her arms, avoiding eye contact. "You remind me of someone," she said finally. "Who?" "Someone I should have walked away from a long time ago." I didn't know what to say to that, so I said nothing. Just stood there, feeling her words settle between us. "I'm not him," I said after a beat. "I know," she replied. Too quickly. "That's not the point." She looked at me then. Fully. And I felt it in my spine, that kind of eye contact that makes you forget where your hands are, how you're standing, what day it is. "I shouldn't have let you in," she added quietly. "Then why did you?" A pause. She blinked, like she was searching for a safe answer and couldn't find one. Then, her voice softer. "Would you mind staying for a little longer?" I nodded before I even thought about it. She walked past me, fingers grazing my arm on the way, just enough to light every nerve. Just enough to make me forget the door was still open behind me. And as I followed her into the living room, one thought kept circling in my head: what am I walking into? Her living room was dim, just one floor lamp in the corner, and the flicker of headlights sliding across the windows every now and then. She sat on the far end of the couch, legs curled under her, blanket half draped like she wasn't sure if she was cold or just covering up. I took the other side. Far, but not far enough. The air between us wasn't quiet, it was waiting. "You don't talk much," she said, breaking the silence with a tired smile. "I don't know what I'm allowed to say." She looked at me, and for a second she seemed to drop whatever armor she'd been wearing. "You ever feel like something's wrong just because it's too easy?" I didn't answer. I was too busy noticing the way her voice softened when she wasn't trying to be strong. The way her hair had started falling out of its clip. The way her fingers played with the edge of the blanket, nervously. She stared down at the mug in her hands like it had answers. "I used to think I had time," she said suddenly. "To figure it all out. To make smarter choices. But then I blinked and I was here. Alone. Repairing cabinets. Letting strangers into my apartment. I'm not a stranger. You shouldn't be here," she said, but she didn't ask me to leave. A beat passed. Then another. I shifted closer, maybe an inch. Just enough for her to notice. And she did. She turned her head toward me slowly. Her lips parted like she was about to say something. Something that mattered. Then bzzzt. Her phone vibrated on the table. We both jumped slightly. She reached for it, hesitated when she saw the screen. "Who is it?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Just let the screen dim in her hand, then turned the phone face down. Doesn't matter. But something had shifted. Her eyes were guarded again, her posture more upright. "Boyfriend?" I asked. She looked at me like she wanted to laugh, or cry, or both. Ex technically. He still doesn't know how to stay an ex. That strange heat came back, something bitter and territorial I wasn't proud of. "I should go," I said, standing. She didn't stop me. Not immediately. But just as I reached for my jacket, I heard her voice behind me. "You weren't just being nice. Were you?" I froze. "What do you mean?" She stood too. Slower. Helping with the door. The cabinet. Staying. I turned. "What if I wasn't?" She walked closer. Close enough that I could feel the warmth of her. She tilted her head, searching my face like it held some truths she wasn't sure she wanted. Then, so quiet I barely caught it. Don't say anything, unless you mean it. I didn't. I just stepped closer. And in that stillness, that suspended breath between two people teetering on the edge, I could tell we were about to cross it. I should have stopped this earlier, she whispered. We were standing too close in the narrow space between the couch and the coffee table, the lamp casting long shadows behind us. Her words weren't cold, they were scared. Not of me. Of herself. You still can, I said, even though I didn't want her to. She laughed, but it wasn't amused. It cracked. You think this is a joke? No, I said. But I think pretending it's nothing is. That was it, the line. The first real one. Her breath caught. She stepped back, not far, just enough to put space between us again. You're too young, she said. You don't get how messy this is. I'm not asking for perfect. I'm standing here. Right now. She looked away, toward the darkened window like the city might offer her an exit. You don't know what I've lost. I don't need to, I replied. Just tell me what you want. She hesitated, then turned back to me, eyes suddenly wet. I want to feel like I didn't ruin everything. Like I still exist to someone who sees me. Her voice broke then, soft but splintered. But I'm not supposed to want that from you. My throat went dry. I wanted to say something that would make it easier, safer, clearer. But nothing would have made it right. So I said, I see you. And I meant it. She looked at me, really looked, like she wasn't expecting that. Like maybe part of her had been hoping I'd lie instead. We stood there, barely breathing. The kettle clicked again in the distance. The room felt impossibly still. Then, slowly, she reached out and touched my chest. Not to pull me in. Just to feel that I was real. You're going to regret this, she said. Then let me, I whispered. Another beat passed. The silence this time wasn't comfortable. It was trembling. Then the front door handle clicked. We both flinched, her hand dropping instantly. Her eyes shot to the hallway. Footsteps. Keys jangled. Then nothing. Whoever it was must have entered the apartment next door. We didn't move. We didn't speak. She turned back to me, her voice suddenly raw. Tell me something true, she said. Right now. Say it. I swallowed hard. If I kiss you, I said, I won't be able to stop thinking about it. Even if you tell me never to come back. She didn't look away. Didn't answer. Just stood there. And for the first time since this began, she didn't stop me. Her lips parted like she was about to speak, maybe to stop me, maybe to let it happen, but then, suddenly, her eyes widened and she stepped back. Wait, she said, her voice shaking. I didn't know. I didn't realize. I froze. My breath still hung in the space between us. What? She stared at me, like trying to place something in her mind. Your last name. You said Daniel? Daniel Collett? Yeah. She took another step back. Her hand went to her mouth. I knew your mother. That one landed like a punch. What? Her voice was low, almost ashamed. We worked together. Years ago. She talked about you all the time. You were just a kid. I blinked, stunned. The floor didn't feel stable anymore. I thought your name sounded familiar when we met. I just didn't connect it. She looked down, her voice softening. Your mom helped me through one of the worst years of my life. What kind of help? She looked at me, eyes glassy. The kind where someone shows up when they don't have to. The kind that costs them more than they admit. I didn't know how to process that. Everything tilted. The way she looked at me now, it wasn't just desire or guilt. It was memory. Complication. Gratitude. You knew her, I repeated, quieter now. She was kind to me when I didn't deserve it, she whispered. And now I'm standing here about to. She shook her head. I don't even know what I'm doing. Neither did I. But I also knew this had never felt transactional. This wasn't about my mom. This wasn't about debt. This was us. Something strange and terrifying and real, even if either of us could name it yet. I'm not her, I said. You don't know me anything. I know, she said. That's the problem. You remind me of everything I tried to forget. I stepped closer gently. And what if I don't want to be forgotten? Her eyes met mine again. The tension between us hadn't disappeared. It had changed shape. Gotten heavier. I should have told you, she said. But I didn't think it would matter. I didn't think you'd stay. I didn't plan to. So why are you still here? My heart was pounding, but I meant every word. Because even now, after all of this, I still want to know what happens if I touch you. A beat. She didn't say anything. But she reached for my hand, slowly, deliberately, and held it like it was something fragile. Her grip wasn't firm. It wasn't confident. It was willing. And in that quiet moment, that impossible pause between past and present, she asked, What do you think your mother would say if she saw this? I didn't answer right away. She was still holding my hand when she asked it. What do you think your mother would say if she saw this? And suddenly it felt like the entire night had cracked open. Every look, every brush of skin, every word we didn't say, it all felt heavier now. I looked down at our hands. Mine steady. Hers trembling just slightly, like she wanted to let go but couldn't bring herself to. She'd probably tell me to go, I said finally. That I'm too young to know what I'm doing. She nodded, not arguing. But then again, I added, she'd also want me to choose something real. Even if it's complicated. Especially if it's complicated. Her eyes lifted to mine. And this feels real to you? It scares the hell out of me, I said. But yeah. She let go of my hand, and I felt the cold rush in instantly. She stepped back, arms crossing like she was trying to hold herself together. You don't get it, she said. This doesn't end in some perfect way. I don't know how to be with someone anymore. Not without second-guessing every step. Not without waiting for it to fall apart. I'm not asking you to be perfect. She laughed under her breath. Bitter. Sad. No. You're asking me to start something that might already be doomed. I stepped forward. Carefully. Slowly. Then let it be doomed. But don't pretend you don't want it. Her eyes welled up again, but she didn't let the tears fall. You're just a kid, Daniel. You know I'm not. Silence. I could feel it breaking her. Not because she didn't want this, but because she did, and that scared her more. So I said the thing neither of us had dared to say. I want you. Not in the way people throw those words around. Not impulsively. I meant all of her, the weight she carried, the fear, the quiet strength she didn't even know she had. Her face softened, like something inside her finally gave way. And then, slowly, she stepped toward me again, close enough for me to hear her breathing. She touched my face, fingers feather-light. I haven't wanted someone in a long time, she whispered. I forgot how terrifying it is. I pressed my forehead to hers. Then be scared. Just don't run. She nodded. Almost imperceptibly. And in that moment, not with a kiss, not with anything dramatic, But with that closeness, that stillness between two people finally not pretending, we chose each other. Not forever. Not perfectly. But honestly. We didn't rush it after that night. There was no grand declaration, no impulsive escape from reality. Just slow mornings with too much coffee, conversations that circled things before landing, and quiet nights where we learned how to sit in the same silence without needing to fill it. She let me back in the next day, not into her apartment, but into her world. Bit by bit. I saw the photos she kept tucked behind books on her shelf, people she didn't talk to anymore. I learned how her laugh changed depending on who was in the room. I found out she kept old voicemails from her mother, even the ones that didn't say much at all. Just breathing. Just presence. And she saw me, too. Not just as the kid next door. Not as her past reappearing in a different form. But as someone willing to stand still with her, even when everything felt like it might collapse again. I didn't fix her. She didn't complete me. We simply chose each other, without conditions, without perfect timing. Just two people carrying their separate histories and deciding not to let that be the thing that kept them apart. That question she asked me that night, "What do you think your mother would say if she saw this?" It stayed with me. And the truth? I think she'd see the way I look at Leah now, the way I listen to her, the way I've learned when to stay quiet, when to stay close, and she'd understand. Because love, the kind that sticks, doesn't always look like fireworks. Sometimes it looks like two flawed people learning to stop hiding. Sometimes it looks like a slow breathe between heartbeats. The cabinet we fixed together? Still squeaks sometimes. We laugh about it now. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? Tell us in the comments, and if this one moved you, share it with someone who'd understand.